Hey there everybody, my name is Kat Bowser. I'm your resident fantasy therapist. Welcome back to my channel. I know it's been about a week. I've had some family stuff I've had to deal with. My husband had an adverse reaction to the COVID vaccine, so we've been dealing with that, and that's fun. So I'm going to try to get more videos out this week. I can't guarantee I'll have my usual 2, but I will try. So for those of you here for the first time, my name is Kat Bowser. I'm a licensed therapist. I'm also a writer working on my first couple of books, one the start of a series, one a standalone. And on my channel, I like to talk about the psychology behind writing, the psychology behind the characters, behind plots, behind plot twists, things like that. I'm always open to suggestions, so if there's any specific topic you guys want me to talk about, let me know. I'll be glad to look into it. So today I just wanted to do a really short video. As I said, I'm kind of getting back into the swing of things. But I wanted to talk about a very popular topic among writers, and that's the prospect of killing characters off. So, this one I find I'm kind of divided on, and I'm divided for an interesting reason. As a writer, totally get why you want to kill a character off. As a reader, I despise it. So I kind of wanted to talk about why that is. So let's start with the writer part first. I think most people, when it comes to killing characters off, there's definitely lazy ways to do it, and there's definitely good ways to do it. As a general rule for myself, if you're going to kill a character off, it needs to be planned. If you're a pantser, which is, someone that makes up the story as you go, you can still do this, but I think it needs to have a couple of elements to it. One, you really want to avoid the fridge trope, which is basically where a character's death is used to essentially promote the hero, get them going. It was called this because I don't remember the original source. I want to say it was a comic book, but I honestly can't recall. Where basically the hero's girlfriend was killed and stuffed in a fridge, and that basically set him on a warpath for revenge. So I definitely think that, I don't think that necessarily having a character's death promote the hero is a bad thing, but it shouldn't be the only thing that is promoting the hero. If your hero is uninterested in saving the world until their girlfriend gets murdered, that I don't know, makes me kind of question the hero a little bit. But again, this is one of those things where, kind of like with any trope, I think even with a fridge trope, you can make it work, but I think it's more difficult to. So as a general rule, if you're going to kill a character off, I think it needs to have a purpose in the plot. What does it do for the plot? Is it there to make characters reevaluate their relationships? Is it there to introduce the prospect of grief and complicate things? Is it there to remove a character from the cast? I really don't like it when writers do that, but again, it's your story, so if that's how you want to do it, that's your business. But I personally don't like that. You get what I'm saying though. The death has a purpose, and it's not a one-off purpose. You can see the impact of the death further on in the story. It's not just, this character died and now we're fine. I really like it when books use a character's death to explore grief, because I think grief is a very interesting psychological response, because everyone will go through it at some point in their life, but nobody goes through it the same way. Everyone has a different reaction, and everyone reacts on a different time frame. That's something that I don't see a lot in books, is the further down the line time frame to deal with grief. There was actually a conversation about this the other day, and it was I don't remember where I saw it. I think it was on YouTube somewhere, where basically people were talking about how characters react to death in books. And the complaint typically is that the character doesn't have a reaction. I'm not entirely against that at first, because some people do literally turn stoic with a death, and they don't seem to have any reaction, and they have a delayed reaction. It comes much later. But there is a point in that if every character reacts to a character's death by going stoic, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Because like I said, everybody is different. Some people are going to break down. Some people are going to get angry. That's actually one I don't see a lot, and I want to see more of it. Characters getting angry when people they love pass away. And I think people are hesitant to do this because it's one thing to have your character get angry at the person who killed them, or, you know, the circumstances or whatnot. But sometimes in grief, what happens is you actually get angry at the person who has died. And I think sometimes people feel really odd going that path, because it's like, you know, the person didn't do anything. And that's true, but it's your brain processing these things. And sometimes it's basically trying to sort out all these different emotions. And one of those things is essentially an emotion of, why did you leave me? And so that can be interesting to explore. So I'd really like to see more variety in how characters react to death. So that being said, I'm going to jump over to the reader side. I hate when writers kill characters off. And for me, it's because it's almost always characters that I like. And, you know, as a writer, you want the reader to be attached to the character. You want the death to mean something. I mean, you don't want it to just be, you know, it's, you know, Joe Schmo who really doesn't have any impact on the plot. You want it to leave an impact and have a message. And I understand that. And as a writer, I respect it. As a reader, I can't stand it, because for me, reading is really about escapism. It's something I do that brings me joy and kind of helps me to cope with whatever happens to be going on in the world. So when I read a book and a character that I have grown to love and care about dies, it doesn't ruin the experience for me, but it kind of dampens it for me. And you know, how you as a writer take this is kind of up to you. I mean, some people might say, awesome, I'm getting a really strong emotional reaction. That's what I want. Some people may be like, oh, I don't really want the reader to hate me. So you kind of have to decide what side of the fence you're on in this. Let me give you guys an example here. I don't consider this a spoiler because the book is like freaking 60 years old. In The Hobbit, Thorin dies, Fili and Kili die. And we get to see kind of Bilbo's breakdown after he learns that they've passed away. As a reader, I hate that all three of them died. I understand as a writer and even as a reader why Thorin had to die. Totally get it. It's a statement on greed. It's, you know, it makes sense. Killing both of his nephews never made sense to me. Killing one of them, okay, I can accept that. Kind of makes sense. It's sad, but it makes sense. Killing both of them, it almost felt too cold. And you might say, well, I mean, you know, Tolkien fought in a war, and war is not fair. And you would be correct. War is not fair. But I think if you're writing your own story and your own reality, you can kind of level out the fairness a little bit. That's what I personally do. Now, if you're going for ultra realistic, okay, you know, that's fine. It's not what I like to read, but I get it. But for me, I don't know, with character deaths, they not only have to make sense to me, but there has to be almost, I want to say almost a sense of justice behind it. Like, okay, if so-and-so is dying, you know, what is the payoff? You know, kind of what happens that makes their death worth it, you know. And for me, again, going back to The Hobbit, the thing that bothers me, and it's this really little thing, is that with Thorin gone and then Fili and Kili gone, Thorin's cousin, Dane, takes over as King Under the Mountain. Dane didn't even bother to show up until after most of the work was done. And that's why it bothers me so much. But I kind of take this as a lesson when I'm writing, like, okay, if I'm going to kill off a character, what are potential reactions I might get from readers? Now, do I let this dictate what I do? Like, do I necessarily say, okay, all my readers are going to hate me, I'm not going to do this? No, not necessarily. But I think it is important to take into account what you're trying to achieve. If you're trying to get your reader angry, that's one thing. If you're trying to make them sad, that's one thing. If you're just trying to kind of say, okay, this is the nature of the world, that's one thing. Basically what I'm saying is when you kill a character off, it needs to be something that has weight and it has thought behind it. You can usually tell when a writer is just killing off a character just because they can. And that bothers me more than anything, is just when there's not thought part put into it. So like, if I read a story where an author kills off a character I care about, I'm going to be angry, I'm going to be sad. But if there is an obvious reason behind it, if I can see why they've done it, I can respect it even if I don't like it. But if it's just kind of something that happens, like, okay, I'm just going to kill this character off just for shock value, you're probably going to lose me. I can't stand shock value deaths. They drive me crazy. Because I want the stuff I read to have thought put into it. I want the stuff I read to have emotional impact. I want the stuff I read to mean something. And shock value really doesn't mean anything. So that's just me kind of babbling on about my thoughts on this. Like I said, I think it's very interesting that as you can have very different opinions depending on if you're a writer or if you're a reader. But I think we can learn things from both sides. So thank you guys for chiming in for my video. I hope you guys will subscribe and ring that bell so you don't miss when I upload again. Like I said, I'm trying to get back into regular schedule this week, but I can't guarantee I'll give you guys my usual 2 videos, but I will try. And I hope you guys stay safe. As always, if you have any suggestions, make sure you drop them below, or if you have any comments, drop them below. I always love responding to them. And until next time, stay safe. Have a good one.